All right, today is December 3rd. Merry Christmas month. Happy Hanukkah or whatever else you say you celebrate. Um, I wanted to do a quick lesson on zones. And you guys will often hear me say, "Hey, I'm gonna buy support and sell resistance." Well, what does that mean? And what I want to show you is how I play zones within whatever edge that I'm using, be it inside candle in TPS. It doesn't matter. I'm always buying support and selling resistance. So what I'm going to do here on this blank Tesla chart is I'm just going to imagine, you know, this is all fake. Here, let me get rid of this so we're not confused. So if I were to have these three lines up here, right? This would be like, zone 3. Okay. And then if we were to have another one, let's say down here, this would be zone 2, right? And then if you have another one below it, this would be zone 1. And I mean, you call it zone 3, 2, 1, or however, it doesn't matter. Just you've got above, below, and at, right? And so price is going to be in the middle one. That's where you're always um, looking to take the value area from where you are to either above or below. So let's pretend we're playing Tesla. Here, I'll make it a little bit further apart so that it's a little bit more visible. Let's say that we're playing Tesla and we're in zone 2. Okay. So uh, this is the zone we're currently in with the box, right? And we're watching price action. Let's say, I don't know, we play a 10-minute squeeze or 30-minute squeeze or daily squeeze or whatever it is. Well, the next level that you see on the chart is going to be up here. And so each one of these lines represents the value area high, the value area low, and the point of control. So what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to identify that zone, right? And the way that it works, or that VP normally works, is you'll have a little bit of VP here. You'll have a little bit more VP up here, right? And then your point of control is going to have a little bit more VP than the rest of them, right? So that's what your VP would look like most of the time. So yeah, I'll show you the we'll play this in reality. Right now, I'm just giving you a clear example. You guys can see these three boxes over here, right? This is pretend VP, right? So this is what your normal VP looks like, and this is your value area low, point of control, value area high. Okay, that makes sense. And so that's the same thing here. So what is this? What does this bar represent right here in zone 3? That's correct, John. So like this bar that I'm moving up and down, what does this represent? Yeah, value area low, right? So this is where the beginning value zone starts, and it is resistance until when? When does this become support? Right? So how do I play things? Like PanW, like I just took profits on. Why? Well, we're breaking from one zone and we just start hitting value area low. This green arrow is going to be a sell for me. So I would sell some right here, right? So what if it does this and comes up and hits point of control? Again, I would sell some there as well. Well, what if it does that and then pulls back to 341 and it's retesting that value area low? Is that my buy signal? The answer to that is no. So why? Why is that not my buy signal? Yes, I'm recording. So I want you to come back to these three boxes right here. Right? If I'm trying to get above the bulk of people and I want everybody in this zone to be happy, what has to happen? If I want everybody in this box or this box to be happy, what needs to happen? Yeah, you got to go to at least this top line. Once we hit that top line, right? I'm not necessarily going to sell again here. The reason being is because we're proving that we're getting above the resistance here, which is the point of control. That's your main long bar, right? Your long bar is going to be here. Now that we've made everybody happy and we're coming up near the value area high, well, what if it comes back and retests the value area? I'm sorry, what if it retests the point of control? Am I allowed to buy that? And the answer to that is, anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Yeah, buy, right? I can't. I don't have to, but I can buy. Okay? So let's pretend I do buy here. And I'm adding to my position, and I'm like, all right, a perfect example of this is Tesla. We got in Tesla on the Trump trade. We made a buttload of money. Now I want to add to it because I think Tesla's going to 500. They're going to take over the world. They're going to get every single government contract in the world because President Trump is best friends with his new buddy Elon, and we're going to the moon. So I want to keep adding on the way up. If I were to buy here, where is my stop on this buy? Bueller. What's up, Bueller? Yeah, Mark. Exactly. So my stop on this buy becomes value area low. So what does that mean? Does that mean if I want to buy, let's just say 1,000 shares, that I'm going to buy 1,000 shares right there? No. I'm going to break up my buy in between point of control and value area low. Right? And so I buy there, maybe I get a half position, and then maybe it comes into right here and I get a third position, then I get a 2/3 position. Maybe it doesn't all come into the value area low and it starts coming back up. And let's say it comes back up to here and I got two buys. What are my rules telling me that I need to do? So I bought here and I bought there. The arrow's pointing up. I bought twice. So now that we're hitting value area high of the zone, what would I do? David, you got it, right? So I'd be like, oh, perfect, okay. So I got 2/3 of my fill. So let's just say I bought 350 shares, and then I bought 350 shares. Well, then at this point, you're hitting a double top, right? And so I'd be like, all right, I'm going to take half off. So this buy, I'm going to sell. And then at that point, I have a decision to make. Do I this additional buy that I've got left? Do I want to stop out at entry, or do I want to stop out at break even overall? So let's say I made $7. Well, I can lower this buy by $7, and if I stop out, it's a break even trade overall. Okay. Or I can say, you know what? I'm gonna stop out at entry here, and I'm gonna lock in the profits. Um, so this is where I would say, so if a chart formed like this, what would be the thing that I would tell you guys that I'm looking for? What's the next step that I would be like, man, I would love if I had a magic wand, this is what this would do. Oh, yeah, little you, right? Exactly. Exactly. So I would love for this thing to just come back. Oh man, I'd love to grab some right here. And where would my stop be if I decided to buy here? So this buy, this yellow one, where would that stop be? Yeah, value very low. Exactly. Because what happens if it's not a little u? What's going to happen if this isn't a little u? What's still the probabilities? Or possibilities? I shouldn't say probabilities, possibilities. Well, yeah, it could break down, but ultimately, maybe we just need to switch to a longer time frame, and it still can be a W, right? So a double bottom, and then it breaks. Does that make sense? So maybe it doesn't form the little U, but maybe it does a double bottom, right? And then we can go. So one of the things I want you guys to understand is when I'm in this zone, do you guys understand what I mean when I say this is what it takes and requires to keep people happy? So the person that was buying here, right? They're still happy. When are they going to be sad? If we break below them, right? If we come back down here and it does something like this and starts to put in a descending triangle, that's when it's like, all right, yeah, maybe we need to go back down or break down out of this zone to stop on any of the chasers out. If it does that, it's like, all right, well, I've got to stop out of this trade, right? I don't have to stop out of the zone 2 trade that I bought previously that I was playing into, but this upper one I need to stop out of right now, or trail stop out, or do whatever it is until we can get back within this zone and play the same rules, or we come back down to this level. So this area here in the circle is what I call no man's land. I don't want to play it. So like today on Microsoft, when we opened up this morning, I was like, hey, we're opening up into my levels, right? I was like, oh, we're gonna open up right at my levels, but in fact, it opened at 4:30. I was like, dang, okay, we're in no man's land, right? So I got to take this to wait till this gets to value area high of the zone below. It hits, I'm able to buy. Now my target is to take it strictly back to value area low of the next one and into value area high, right? What was this chart? Tesla? Was it Tesla? I don't know what I do with my drawings. Ah, there they are. Found them. Uh, okay. So does anybody have any questions on how this works? And the same thing works for going down. So let's pretend we get stopped out of this play here, this zone 2. We're playing, I don't know, a 30-minute squeeze, and then it starts to shoot down and come into this next level. Well, maybe that's setting us up for a daily squeeze, and now we're pulling back to the 80 MA. We can buy within this zone below us, and we can set up a longer time frame trade that's more likely to go our way than a shorter time frame trade. So the way that this works is when I'm like, hey guys, I'm absorbing in this zone, I will literally say, all right, I'm going to buy off the value area high. I'll buy off the point of control and the value area low. Those are my 3 buys. So the way that would work is, all right, we're breaking down, and I've got to buy right there. So let's say we come into like right here, and then we give a little bounce. and let's say there was some consolidation right here, right? What am I normally going to do at this point? I got my first fill. Well, I'm normally going to sell a piece on this. And if it just goes on back up, great, I'm still in it. That's fine. But really what I want to do is I want to absorb more at lower price. So let's say it comes back down here and then I get filled on another piece. Right here. And then it does that. Well, what am I going to do now? Well, I'm going to sell it because what am I doing? I'm simply trying to lower my cost basis to what? What is the goal? For me, the goal is to always get your cost basis as close to your stop out level as possible so that if the play doesn't work, you take a small loss or even a small win. Right? We'll go through that, Dizzy. So for the recording, Dizzy says, hey, do you switch time frames when establishing value areas? What time frame do you use the most? The answer to that is yes, absolutely. You're always going to be, you can have zones within zones within zones, blah, 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 blah. But yes, we'll get through that. We'll show a live training. So I would sell a portion because now the piece that I bought here is what? Well, now I've got a cost basis down here. Well, depending upon what the stock does now, it's kind of depending upon what I'm going to be doing with the rest of the pieces that I have. If the stock breaks back down, I still have the right to purchase at this value area low, and then I'll do the exact same thing. I'll buy here, I'll sell a portion here, and then if it pulls back up to here, I'll sell a portion there. And guess what happens? That buy, and that buy, what it has allowed me to do is sold half of it here, sold half of it here, sold half of it here, sold all of it here. So all of that buy is now sold out. Well, my cost basis on this is well below 250 at this point, right? So now I've got a free trade, right? So great. Hard stop in, value area low. Let's go. So that's one thing that could happen. The other thing that happens is what if you don't come all the way into your value area low? Let's say you hold point of control here and you do some type of double bottom and it does this. So per my rules, I technically have the right to buy back what I sold, right? This piece that I sold, if it comes back to that level. I don't do that a lot. I do sometimes, just depends on the strength of the stock. So for this case, let's pretend there is no buy there. Well, now that we're coming up and we've created a double bottom and we're starting to break out and we're going back to this double top, right? This one, because there's some consolidation here. You're starting to get a new little VP, right? So what time frame are you looking at? Well, it always depends, right? It depends on what chart you're playing, minute chart, 10-minute chart, daily chart. And on this instance, it's like, all right, I am now going to tell you that the bounce has already happened in this zone 1 because we've held it. We're breaking out into new territory and we're trying to push back up to this area. So at this point, I'd be like, all right, I'm going to sell another little piece right here at this double top. And my stop is now moved up and I am not buying the value area low anymore. Anybody tell me why? Like, what's the difference between what I just drew now and what I drew previously? What's the difference? Yeah, I do use LIFO. And again, if you the wash sale rule will not apply to you if you're a day trader if you apply for it. So yeah, so the difference here is that we've made what? What have we made here in comparison on the chart to that we didn't make down here? And this is the easy way to remember it. We made a higher high, right? Anytime you make a higher high, you're going to have algorithms, you're going to have volatility chasers. Oh, okay, higher high, that's bullish, buy. right? And so you're locking in new people, right? So the fact that we made a higher high is like, all right, I need to adjust my stops. Well, let's say it does that, right? Like it does a double bottom and then does that and then rolls over. Yeah, sure, I'd buy that value area low. But the fact that we've already done the bounce and we're starting to create a new high, we're beginning an uptrend. We've created a W, and now your neckline of that W is going to be your value area high of this area. And so the risk for me is now your entries, like wherever your entries are, you should raise your stop to those entry levels. If for whatever reason we do something like this, the odds of it holding this value area low are much lower because we had a higher high. And when you have a failed breakout, what do you normally have? You normally have another failed breakdown, and then you're going to get something like this. And then you can decide, hey, do I want to play it if this holds or not? Does that make sense? Does everybody understand this? Any questions on this? Because I'm gonna go through it now in a real live situation. Okay, no questions. All right. Okay, which chart would we like to kind of break down? Would you guys like to use Lemonade since I think some of you guys are in that? Um, because I haven't done anything with this. I don't know anything about where the levels are. So the question of what time frames do you play and all that kind of stuff, you always want to zoom in as detailed as possible and find the people you're playing against. And what that means is whatever time frame you can get to see the detail. So when I'm looking at Lemonade, the only people that I really care to look at right now is this box, right? So within this box, I need to break down and figure out where the zones are. So we know that there's going to be a zone here. We know that there's going to be a zone, here. But for me, this is the important zone because that's the people we're playing. So the first thing I'm going to do is throw in an anchored VWAP just to kind of give me a generic VP level. All right. So now that I'm looking at this, it's pretty clear, right? You got zone. So I'm going to go to a 3-minute chart. How tight can I get that? What about a 2-minute? Can I get the whole thing in a 2-minute? Yeah, I can. So I'm going to use a 2-minute chart. I'm going to maximize this chart to give it the best detail I can on volume profile. And I'm going to zoom into it. So we still got this gap. So I'm going to try to take this gap because I'm not using from 42.80 below. So let's see if I can do this. So right now my spreads are 25 cents. Now my spreads are 10 cents. So you see how much more detailed view I just got of the VP. So like just looking at this, again, we're going to just generically start drawing up where we see the levels. Does everybody see this VP right here? Like what would you guys call this? All right, this is your what? Yeah, that's your point of control. Now you can sit here and argue over exactly where the value or high, value or low is. I would say it's somewhere around here, right? Now, if I want to get a better detailed picture of it, what do I need to do? Well, I don't need what's below it. So I'm going to zoom in to these sections and see if I can get a better view. No, I like it. Looks good. What I would do here as well is I would say, all right, I'm gonna put a little line here just to let me know that there is some resistance there, but I'm gonna make it a little bit thinner line, right? So, if we do break out of the value area high, we could possibly get a little reject there, maybe another opportunity to buy a dip on this as it comes back in to retest the value area high. All right, this looks great. So I'm good with this. Now what I want to see is I want to see the VP going forward. So I'm going to remove the ladder VP to see if there's any big chunks that I need to be aware of that we're taking out. So the only other thing that I see is this right here, right? So you're starting to get into these people. So I think that's important to have a little level there to let me know. And then when you start talking about zones within zones, like I could come in here and within this zone, I could literally find a zone here. I could literally find a zone here. So is it wrong to have a zone within a zone or to look at a 2 minute, 1 minute, 15-second chart? Hey, no, it's not. It just depends upon what you're playing. So, all right, now I'm going to undo the zoom. And now really what I would need to see is this lower section to find the zone below me, right? So let's do that with this. So let's do the same thing. Since price is above us, I'll put the value area, the point of control at the lower bar versus the upside of the bar. So here is this, and then I would have the same idea, that lighter bar right here. Just to let you know, I call this the Efren stop loss because I taught a guy named Efren. Right? It's like, all right, well, maybe you get a bounce from there, but this is your main area. All right, so now I'm going to undo the zoom. So undo the zoom. All right, so again, we didn't use any VP from today or yesterday, right? This VP these lines were strictly drawn using the VP from this particular day. So looking at price action here, with what I told you guys, where would my first buy be? If I was buying the dip on LMND, where would my first buy be? Oh, yeah. Sorry, Sharky. It's for some reason that one that I just made is a little bit lower. Yeah, exactly. 40. So value area high is 46.64, right? So my buy would be right there. Now, did it bounce enough for me to sell anything? No, not really. If we would have came up to here, I probably would have sold a piece. So there's one buy. Where would my next buy be? Let's see if you guys are going to get this one. So the answer is 45.84, right? That's your point of control. Well, here's the quote unquote art of trading. Would I buy at 45.84? Honestly, I probably wouldn't. I probably would have bought about 46.05. Why? Well, I want to buy above 46 just in case we don't break 46. So should I wait till 45.84 and that needs to be my cost basis for my plan for my trade? Well, then what I would do is I just break it up into two buys. So this one buy would be bought at 46.05 and then again at like say 45.75. And then that would lower it, right? But overall, yes, buying right in here. Now, did this one bounce enough for me to sell anything? No, not really. Right? Well, where's my next buy? Well, you got it. You guys are getting it, right? Value or low. Okay. Where would my stop be? Would my stop be 45.26? That's my level, 45.26. Would that be my stop? Where would my stop be? Yeah, so here's the question, right? This is the art of understanding trading and why you don't always size in and have full size, because you want to give the stock room to move. All right, well, remember that Efren stop loss that I put in here? Right? Remember that little, maybe if it goes down to there, it bounces again. So this would be my hard stop. I'm not letting it go below this level. Right? It's like I got to stop out. Now, could I stop out beforehand? Well, yeah. It depends on how the stock performs. But what happened here? We bounced, right? So because we bounced, where would my first sell be? And again, let's just for simplicity, let's say we're buying 100 shares at each one of these. So 100 shares at each one of these green symbols, right? So my first sell would be the point of control. That's right. Because I bought it at value area low, and now you're hitting point of control. So how much would I sell at point of control here? So 45.84 would be my sell. I would sell 50. I'd sell 50 of this last one, right? And then I'd sell the other 50 up here at 46.64. So what I've done here is I've taken 100 and I've gotten 100, what is that, 45? So let's just say 45.26 to 64. So it's a dollar, let's just say $1.40. So that's giving me about $1.40 off of 100 shares. With 200 shares left, what does that mean? That lowers those cost basis by 70 cents, right? So now this cost basis is lowered 70 cents, and this cost basis is lowered 70 cents. Well, guess what else I sell right here at this value area high? So I sold 50 from down here, but I'm also selling 50 from here. Does that make sense? So this buy, I've now sold 50, and I've taken 45.84, 46, so about another 80 cents out of that, right? Which is half of this position. So now I'm holding 150 shares. So 150 shares, and I've taken profit on 150 shares of, that would be 150, 46. About a $1.20 to $1.30. All right. So now I'm holding 150 shares with a cost basis of about 46.25. Right? And I've profited a $1.30 off of the other 150. So if I were to subtract a $1.30 from 46.20, what does that get me? 45.90-ish. So if I get stopped out of this trade, am I going to take a big loss? I'll take like a 30-cent loss. What do you frickin' do? If it works, what am I going to get? We're bringing this sucker back to 50. Right? We're going to start selling at 49, start selling at 50, and then we'll play over under this zone. So when I tell you guys over under, this is what I'm talking about. We're hitting a zone, and you got to prove to me that you're going to hold this level and bounce. If you can get above it, that gives me the right to buy it. If you get below it, I got to wait till it gets down to the next level to buy it, or I can short it down to that next level. So do you guys, are you able to see how my rules apply to zones, buying zones, and the goal of taking it between zones? Does this make sense? Right? So again, now that what happens is when we start getting into this area, that's when I'll start selling what I've taken here, right? And ultimately, I'm going to do the exact same thing in this area. And if I can remain with, let's say, 50 shares, if I can keep 50 shares from here, 50 shares from here, and we get in a situation where the stock just goes straight up, you end up with 50 shares here, 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 50 shares here. Then all of a sudden, you got like 1,000 shares of Meta, and you're up freaking, 300-400% on some of them. 100% on some of them, 50% on some of them, but you're adding to a winner as it goes up. Does that make sense? And so, the way that you would play options within these things, it's the exact same way to use the options. The only difference that the options do, you gotta put in time. So for example, on Microsoft, do you guys think this morning if I had bought like a month out on Microsoft, do you think I'd have been as fidgety? This morning I'm like, I'm down on Microsoft. We got to work out of this trade. It's like, I'm down. I'm down. And I'm freaking out. It's a snake. It could be a snake. I could lose money. Well, I was using this week's options, right? If I was using a month out, I'd be like, great, let's buy some more. You know what I mean? Like, you have to apply the time aspect to your trade, and for me, that's why I always go much further out than Nate. Nate's better at better at playing the shorter dated options than I am. Okay, does anybody have any questions on this? So the next step is I actually want to find a play that we can actually put this into play right here, right now. Any questions, guys, before we move on to the next one? If not, how dare you? Give me 1 second. Okay, for the recording, I'm going to say this again. The question was, you just you look at the VP from the time frame that you're playing. Well, the answer to that is yes. You're always looking at the people you're playing. The time frame doesn't mean much. The time frame and all that kind of stuff is for your edges. But on Disney, if I'm playing a 15 minute on Disney or whatever, I need to look back over here to see who's up against me, right? And it's back, 6, 7, 8 months ago. But if I'm playing like Hood, you know what I mean? Like we don't have to go very far back because we're at all time highs. We don't have to look back to here. Even though we're playing a 2 hour on Hood, right? We're going back and we're zooming in on a 5 minute chart to figure out where the VP levels are, right? So like this is a zone that I want to buy from. All right, okay, understand that. Well, what happens if it breaks down and comes into this zone? Yeah, I want to buy from that zone too. Okay, so that's why you have your multiple buys. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording.